Hello and welcome to Heavy Metal WRX. My name is Wace, and today behind me you can see I got another VB on the dyno. Now it's not mine, even though it looks like it because it's white, but for some reason we have a lot of white VBs here in St. Louis, but this is actually my buddy Kyle. He brought his VB in to get he just recently installed a flex fuel kit. He's got a couple other mods, so he's getting a 93 tune and ethanol, obviously like a flex tune. So I told him, I said, we'll just bring it down here, we'll do a dyno tune, we'll put together like a little video for him for our Facebook, and you know, I get to kind of make one too. So pretty excited. He's already actually went through his 93 stuff, but unfortunately he had some old gas left in the tank, so I wasn't really able to do 93 tune properly. But a couple of mods that he's got on there is ETS top mount, ETS intake with the box, ETS charge pipe, radium catch cans, the ray intermediate pipe, so finally be able to see how that works out on one of these cars. Perrin inlet and the flex fuel kit from Cobb. Now, most of you guys know generally what these cars make when it comes to power on 93. And then even on like ethanol blends, I probably not gonna be able to say this whole time, but I am curious to see how all these flex fuel tunes work, because I don't have one of my own and I've never had one before either. But everything seems to be working okay, so we're just gonna walk around and take a couple of clips of the car. Now, if you're wondering about the sound that this car makes, it's actually a Remark axle back. Actually, I think it's a Remark cat back with a Remark mid-pipe, Remark axle back with no mufflers. So most of the time, just removing the mufflers gives you a lot of added tone, which is, for the most part, I believe the mid-pipe is resonated because my buddy does have a kid, and you know, we try to make it as reasonable as possible for daily driving to minimize drone, but also when you get on the car, it sounds really good, especially here. On ethanol, it's definitely popping a bit, even though this car is not actually, doesn't have like a burble tuner or anything crazy like that. Ethanol usually just tends to pop more than 93, at least in my experience, because that's how my tune is right now. So here's where we ended up on 93, but since the 93 gas in the tank was not super great, it's actually been sitting for a couple of months, we're just gonna kind of ignore that and just move on to the ethanol. Plus, since this is a flex map, you know, the tune is going to adjust for it depending on what kind of ethanol is in here, so I don't think we really need to worry too much about what the 93 map is doing right now. This is the first pull on ethanol, but we're actually adding more ethanol, so let's see how high it goes. So it's like somewhere around E47, and that's not bad. 359, 387 torque, which is, you will feel that going from 250 to 359. You are gonna feel that. That's crazy, because look, 322 torque to 387. That's a lot of extra power. All right, so I wasn't able to stay here the entire time Kyle was on the dyno, but I was able to find out later on exactly how much he made. So they ended up landing at about E60-ish. He did have a bunch of 93 in the tank. Unfortunately, he also had 93 that was like a few months old, so it wasn't really that great. So he wasn't able to get a proper 93 tune. I think he ended up somewhere around like 319 or something. Definitely can go higher, but you can tell that it really wasn't good. So there's no reason messing with it. They ended up just dumping the rest of the ethanol into the tank and getting it up to the maximum amount that they could, which was about E60-ish. And he made about 361, I believe it was 361 wheel horsepower and like 380-ish torque. Adam, of course, kept the torque down as he normally does. No reason to go over 400. Try to prolong the life of that transmission and clutch. Now, I wanted to talk about 93 tunes in general because I talked to Graham, I talked to Adam, I talked to D-Man, I talked to everybody about these. People are seeing 93 tunes out there from some tuners that are like almost as high as ethanol tunes, and I don't know how accurate that is. I don't know if it's really possible, or if it's possible, then it's probably super dangerous, I would imagine, because trying to make, close to almost 400 on 93 with just like an intake and a J-pipe and an intercooler doesn't seem right, but again, feel free to correct me. If you actually have a dyno of your car with 93 and you're making that much power, I would love to see it. I think that would be really interesting to see in general. Now, the parts that were on this car, it was pretty much a full ETS car, ETS intake, ETS top mount, ETS charge pipe. He did have a Perrin Turbo inlet. I don't remember if I mentioned that at the beginning. The Cobb Flex fuel kit so that he can have that nice flex tune. He had a Ray intermediate pipe with a remarked mid pipe and axle back. So pretty much front to back, outside of like actually getting a J pipe, which again, I feel like the price for performance that you get for a J pipe is still pretty low, $1,200 for maybe 10, 20 horsepower. Obviously in the long term, you will get one if you're gonna get like a bigger turbo or whatever, or if you just wanna, get one later, that's also fine. There are parts that are similar to the ETS. I'd say the Perrin is, and actually I'm gonna refer back to a video that Graham did with Foster some time ago, and it was actually comparing 3 different intakes, and yeah, the Perrin one was lower, with the ETS and the AEM one actually coming up really, really high, very comparable between them. So if you're looking for different options, AEM is actually a great option for intake. Their intake is almost as large as the ETS, if not the same size. Don't quote me on that, but based off their tuning, it came up with about the same power, with the Perrin coming up a little bit lower. Now, we do have access to a dyno. What we don't have access to is all of the different parts. I actually would like to be able to get, if I can, every intake, every top mount, and actually run it on the dyno one day back to back so we make these types of videos. It's really difficult. I'm having a hard time making that judgment monetarily with the shop, but it is something I would really like to do somehow. I mean, even if it's like getting 5 VBs together and just pulling their parts off to put on one VB one at a time, I don't know how feasible that is. I think that'd be a lot of work. Adam would have to be here all day unless he actually teaches me how to use the dyno, which, maybe there's something to that. It would be fun to be able to do that because I want to be able to see the exact difference on the same car that each part does. Maybe in the future that's something that we can pull off. Intakes for sure I want to do, I know, and top mounts. These are the 2 things I always get asked about more than anything else. Usually if you're going front mount, you don't care, you're going to go front mount. And charge pipe, just get whatever charge pipe you want. It's really not that big a deal. Intakes, there's just so many different intakes out there. It'd be nice to be able to try them all out. Now, if you're looking for any of these parts, unfortunately, we don't have access to ETS parts, but if you're looking for Perrin, AEM, AMS, Mishimoto, I do actually have all those here at the shop, or rather at our distributor. I'm not gonna lie to you, we don't actually have them at the shop. We have a very large distributor, but I can get you pretty much anything you want within 2 days. So if you're looking for any extra power, now might be the time. And also, depending on when you're watching this, Cobb is actually doing their March Madness sale. So pretty much all of the access ports right now are like 10% off, and all of the stage 1 packages, most of the packages are 10% off. So if you're ready for a tune and some mods, this may be a great way to start before you go on and get an actual pro tune. Get a couple of parts, or maybe just get an access port just to kind of feel it out, try the OTS and see how you like it. So anyway, this was kind of a small one I wanted to do since we actually had Kyle here at the shop. It's always fun when the VB shows up. Like we had one today, he just did a street tune, so I wasn't able to really do anything with him, but that one also, unfortunately he didn't put it on the dyno, so I don't know exactly how much power it made, but he had a 93 tune. I'm gonna say he probably with like an intake, he had an intake, a process west intake, Perrin top mount, and I can't remember what charge pipe he has, but I would imagine he made between 330, 335 horsepower, which is, again, a perfect number for these cars. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.